sure that we have time to hear from everybody before we hand the reins to Max at 6:30, because we want to make sure we've got enough time for everything. So first off, I'm Ingrid Edstrom. I am one of the founders and current Secretary-Treasurer of the Southern Oregon Bookkeepers Association, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization here in Southern Oregon that focuses on the networking and education opportunities for our local bookkeepers and their clients. And we've been building this group together over the last several years. We're on our fourth year right now as a full 501c3. But of course, it took us, what, 3-4 years to get started before then, as these things do. And yeah, we're slowly building the momentum and really encouraging people to develop community with the bookkeeping profession locally, so that we can back each other up, answer each other's questions, and get rid of this idea of competition between us and really focus on how we can help each other and collaborate. So that's our main focus. And we're here this evening for, we meet the second Wednesday of every month for a dinner meeting, and we often do education, those sorts of things. It's similar to some Woodard meetings, that we also have a local Woodard group. And this is kind of our usual meeting, only we're doing it at a different location this time, so we can get the Zoom thing going and have Max join us remotely. We do have different levels of membership. We've got our full bookkeeper memberships, which do require reference and background checks to become a bookkeeping member of the Southern Oregon Bookkeepers Association. And we are looking forward next year, as of January 1st, hopefully, we are in discussion with Jan and the ICB for how we can bring together SOBA membership with ICB membership and create a template for local ICB chapters, of which SOBA would actually become a chapter of ICB, and our members can also be ICB members. So we're working to bridge that gap and create a replicable template that other people can use in other communities everywhere. So that's really neat. In addition to our bookkeeping members, we also have what we're currently considering intern members. For people who are just stepping into the profession, we want to help them step into the profession on the right foot. So that would be the equivalent of ICB student memberships, where people can get in and start learning, start networking, even if they don't have the experience yet. We all had to start somewhere, and we want to make that as easy as possible for everyone. So that's our intern memberships. And then in addition to that, we have what we're calling affiliate memberships, which we might have to change the language of that as we move in with ICB a little bit, as it's not the same thing as an affiliate membership with ICB. Our current affiliate memberships are people in non-bookkeeping professions that want to partner with our organization and network with local bookkeepers. So that may be tax preparers who don't necessarily do bookkeeping, financial planners, insurance agents, anyone who shares a client base with us that would like to become a network affiliate with our organization. And then we also have supporting members, because if my mom wants to donate to our nonprofit, I'm not going to tell her no. So that's sort of where we are as far as our organization and what we do and why we're here. And I think, why don't we start going around the room and introducing the group of people that we have here. And remember, team, one breath introductions. So let's cover your name, your business name, and yeah, niche, if there's a particular niche that you like to focus on. So maybe name, business name, and what kind of clients you're looking for, so that we can pass each other referrals, because that's another big piece of what we do here. Justin is our president of Southern Oregon Bookkeepers Association. Justin, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Justin Boche, enrolled agent, owner of Rogue Tax Professionals. Right now, tomorrow is the corporation deadline, so I'm extremely tired because I've been up pretty much all day, 12 hours or so. But anyway, that's what I do business returns, those kinds of things. I'll pass it on.
Yeah. Tracy's our vice president.
Vice President of SOBA. I'm Tracy with Tabulated Consulting. We specialize with nonprofits and sole proprietors, and we're hopefully going to be in the competition for Firm of the Future next year.
Woohoo! Kay, you want to take it?
Sure. My name is Kay Brown. I am an affiliate member with SOBA. My profession is a Tupperware Star Manager, and I am also a CPA who is no longer accepting new clients, so the topics interest me, but I'm networking mainly for nonprofits who might be interested in fundraising with Tupperware.
Go ahead.
I'm Pam Hine, and this is my first time here, and I'm a guest. I don't know how I'm doing that.
Melanie?
Melanie Madden, financial planner with Future First, and I'm looking to help individuals and groups, self-employed corporations with their retirement planning.
Loretta Stiles, I'm also with Polymath Bookkeeping, and
Vanessa Garrett, also with Polymath Bookkeeping. We're currently talking about focusing on tour and travel industries, and we're figuring out exactly what that means.
We're niching.
All right, and I'm getting close to the I'm Audrey Isbell. My business is ABA Virtual Assistants. I take care of bookkeeping, marketing, and admin support, and I manage and own virtual assistant team. Well, don't own them, but you know, I manage and own the business. And I'm a founding member of SOBA.
Yep. And Audrey's also on our board. Melanie is on our board. Jen, you want to dive in?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Joanne Beck, and I'm an intern member with SOBA, and I'm breaking into the business, so we'll see where I end up.
You over here?
Dan, yep, we can see you.
Good. I'm Dan Johnson, mentor of bookkeeping. I specialize in manufacturing and completed contract methods for contractors. I currently teach at a local community college.
Yay. And I think somebody must have gone to the restroom, so that's it for now. And I'm Ingrid Edstrom, Polymath Bookkeeping. Loretta and Vanessa are my partners, so you heard about us. So I'm going to pass the reins to Gina and Jan, and if you want to unmute people and let them introduce themselves, great, and then we can hand the reins to Max.
Okay, awesome. I'll start out. My name is Gina Rodkey, Gina's Internet Advising. I do bookkeeping, and I am from the Philadelphia area. Eileen, would you like to unmute?
Eileen Sass from Cleveland Rocks, Ohio, and I do outsourced bookkeeping for service-based companies.
Misha?
Hi, Misha Paris, the Paris Company, Incorporated, and I do bookkeeping, taxes, payroll, human resources. Sometimes I help people get jobs and just talk them through different things. And I'm located in Massachusetts, about 30 minutes south of Boston.
Larry?
Hi, I'm Larry DeForest. Presently working for an IT sourcing company. Looking forward to starting my own soon, hopefully real soon. And I'm fairly new to Gina's group, and I really enjoy the camaraderie.
And where are you located?
In Port Washington, Long Island.
Thank you, Larry. Mariette? Are you with us, Mariette?
I am. Sorry, I'm just popping in and out. I am Mariette Martinez. I have my own accounting and tax practice. I've been all over today. So you've seen me at my firm. You've seen me picking up my kids. You've seen me at basketball practice. And now you see me at my house. And that's what a virtual bookkeeper is all about. So just happy to be here. And I love seeing Ingrid. I love you, Ingrid. You are so awesome. Okay. And you're a firm of the future. Of course you are. And I'm just super pumped to see you. And I'm super excited about Practiceignition. I'm really sad about the no suits, just so you know. But other than that, I'm super pumped.
Jan?
Hi. So Jan Helgo. I live in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. I do have my own virtual bookkeeping firm, and I'm also the CEO for ICBUSA.
And Max, everyone's been talking about you. It's your turn now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Max Walsh. I work, as you've probably heard from the introductions, work for a company called Practiceignition. I'm not an accountant or a bookkeeper, but we try to help accountants and bookkeepers run their businesses more efficiently and automate the things that they don't want to do so they can focus on doing the work and growing their business. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that once we get into the demo and the presentation, and I'm located in Seattle.
Can we really quick give Max a round of applause, and thanks so much for dinner.
Well, my turn for thank you. Thank you so much, Ingrid and SOBA, for hosting me, and also to ICB for hosting me as well. And should I be getting started now, Ingrid? Is that the plan?
One last thing, let's raise our cups to the bookkeepers. Can everyone raise their cup? Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Max, it's all you now.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Can everybody see my screen now that it's being shared? Can everybody with SOBA see it?
Yes.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So Ingrid invited me in today to give a little bit of a demo, and I'm also going to talk about why some of the things we do at Practiceignition are important for bookkeeping companies, whether you're talking about a large bookkeeping firm or a really small one. So a little bit of background on Practiceignition and what we do. We're actually started by an accountant in Australia to solve a problem in his firm, and that problem was engagement letters. I'm sure for the folks in the room that have engagement letters with all their clients, it's probably a big pain to write them. And for the folks that don't, I'm going to talk a little bit about why it's a good idea to have one. But basically, his whole idea was that they were doing engagement letters in Word. It took forever. It was a bad process for them. It was a bad process for their clients. And he wanted to be able to meet somebody on a bus ride, talk to them on the bus, and have them have a signed engagement letter by the time they both got off at their stop. And that's kind of what we started out doing at first, is just engagement letters. Since then, we've grown the product to do a whole bunch of other things. The other kind of key pieces being, so I'm just going to collapse this video because I can't see my own screen. The other key pieces being payment collection and AR management, so we can automate all the payments for your business. And then the other one is revenue reporting. And I'm going to talk about all three of those. But the first thing I want to talk about is why engagement letters and proposals are really important for a bookkeeping practice. So I spend pretty much every workday talking to accountants and bookkeepers. That's what we solely focus on. And a lot of the people in smaller bookkeeping and accounting firms, and even some of the larger ones, don't write engagement letters, they don't write proposals, and it hasn't come back to bite them, which totally does happen. You could run a firm and never actually end up needing one. The times when you do, though, you really want to make sure you have one. And I know that a lot of folks work on, they might know their clients really well, they might trust them, might be people they've worked with for a really long time, and they might think they would never need an engagement letter, and that could be right. But there's actually a much more important component to it, and that's when you start getting into fixed fees. Now I know Polymath went from hourly billing to fixed fee billing, and maybe there are a couple other folks in the room that have gone through that transition and are thinking about that transition. Now, when you talk about fixed fees, your engagement letter actually becomes way, way more important, because the only way to make money doing fixed fees, and you can make a lot more money doing fixed fees because it lets you automate other pieces, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the only way to do fixed fees successfully is have a really clear understanding between you and your client of what you're doing and what you're not doing. And to do that, you need it on paper somewhere, you need it written down, so both parties understand it and everyone's expectations are met and kept happy. And that's where, even if you're not worried about getting sued, even if you know your clients really well, that's where having an engagement letter and a proposal can be really useful. So Ingrid, we're going to have some time for Q&A at the end, or do you want people to ask questions as I'm going along? What would be best for you?
That's kind of up to you. We're kind of fine either way. Does anyone have any questions after what Max was just saying now? Really quick, before Max dives back in, I just want to pitch a quick testimonial as he was talking about some of these pieces. Since we started using Practiceignition back in, I think, November, we dived in with you.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No, it was July.
No, we met at Scaling New Heights.
Yeah, we've been on with you for a year, but since we started with, we've converted all of our clients now over to fixed and value pricing. We got rid of our last hourly client last month. We no longer have any accounts receivable. All of our clients are on prepaid contracts, and it is awesome. So with that, I'm going to let Max dive back in and talk about how exactly that works.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. And that is exactly what we like to hear, no debtors and no hourly billing. So yeah, how does that all work? How do we make that happen for you? What I'm gonna do is hop in and create a new proposal. And this proposal is gonna contain an engagement letter. It's gonna have payments in it. It's gonna have all the things we talked about all rolled into one easy to build online thing. So the old way of doing this might be jumping into a Word document, maybe copying and pasting in some services that you have formatted, or just writing it all from scratch, and might take you 20 minutes or half an hour, and then you've got to send it over to your client. Maybe you're using a digital signature piece, maybe you're not. They've got to print it out, sign it, scan it, send it back to you. It's a big hassle for everybody. The other problem with that kind of make it up as you go along approach, especially if you're just getting started on fixed fees or if that's something you're interested in, is consistency of billing. Because the only way to make sure you're doing fixed fees right, fixed fees, flat fees, value pricing, whichever terminology we want to use. When I'm saying fixed fees, I mean billing your clients on a set amount rather than hourly, just so we're all clear on that. The only way to do it is to be consistent and to be able to check to make sure that you are being profitable and that you are charging folks the right amount. So what you do with Practiceignition, you create a library of the different items that you deliver to your clients. Now people do these in all sorts of different ways. Some people have big packages, some people have lots of little small things. They can combine them and create custom packages. You can set that up however you want. There are a couple advantages to doing it this way though. One, it's way faster. I'm just grabbing the thing that I need. I'm not playing around in Word. And the other one's consistency. So I'm starting from this similar basis point for all my clients. Now I can go in here, I can make things different. I can change the price. I can do whatever I want to it to tweak it for that client. But I know that I'm not going to underprice them, and I know that I'm starting with the right set of services. It also empowers people in your firm beyond the business owner to price and to have a sales conversation with a client because they've got this book that they can use or this library of services available to them. So I just go through and I add in whatever I need, whatever I think I'm going to be doing for this client. And then I choose an engagement letter. I can have a couple ones if I want to, if I perform different services or want different legal text. And then this is the payment piece that Ingrid was talking about. So not only do we do the engagement letter piece for you, but we'll also do all your payment processing, both on an upfront and a recurring basis. And what this require button does is it actually lets you lock your contracts if you want to. So if I turn this on, my client won't be able to sign without paying me. If debtors are an issue, if chasing up people for credit card information, bank account information is an issue, this is something that you definitely want to be doing. Now, whether you use Practiceignition or not, I would always suggest securing some form of payment information from your clients prior to starting work for them so that you're going to get paid. We'll save it and we're done. So thinking back to the beginning, I said, our whole idea is taking away tasks that you don't want to be spending time on that are tedious so that you can focus on what you like doing in your business. And I don't think anybody actually likes writing engagement letters. So in here, we're taking that time down from 20 minutes or half an hour, however long it takes you in Word, a couple of minutes, send it off to my client. They get an email, they get a nice pretty acceptance page with your logo on it. And then their first point of interaction with you is something that's online and easy. Now, I'm sure that a lot of the bookkeepers, accountants, folks that are in attendance, you are using cloud technology in some way in your business. You want to present yourself to your clients as a tech-forward accountant, bookkeeper, someone who understands how to use different apps, how to automate a business. And if the first thing you're going to hand them is a Word document or the PDF of a Word document, kind of sends the wrong message right off the bat. But what we're going to do for them is we're going to lay out everything that you're doing for them really simply and easily. You've had a sales conversation. So what we're doing with this proposal is just confirming the numbers and what they're getting so they can decide whether or not they want to buy it. Now, this is the point where that payment piece comes in that Ingrid was talking about. So they can actually enter their ACH or credit card right when they sign, almost like an e-commerce checkout. And then we'll actually automate all the billing if you're on fixed fees. Now, if you're on hourly billing, we can't automate it for you because we don't know the amounts. But in a fixed fee contract, take this one, for example. As soon as they sign, we charge them $19.50. We'd create a corresponding invoice in your accounting system if it's Xero or it's QBO. And then when the money lands in your bank account, we'll actually reconcile that invoice automatically for you. So your whole loop on AR becomes hopping into Practiceignition once a month, making sure the money's all where it's supposed to be, making sure the invoices look okay. You don't have to worry about remembering to bill your clients. All your money gets collected on the first, and you get to focus on the work. Now, the same thing is going to happen for those recurring items. So in this case, we charge them $4.50 a month for the next 9 months on the first of every month. Same deal. You don't have to go in and do anything. It's just going to automatically bill them. We also generate a full engagement letter for you. So all the details that you would expect to be filled in, like the client's name and what you're doing and all that good stuff is in there. And then they can go ahead and sign, create a legally binding digital signature by entering their name, ticking that box, and hitting accept. And that's all they've got to do. Really simple process for your client, really simple process for you as well. That's the whole idea here. I'm going to pause just again for questions, and we can do more Q&A at the end, but I like to give people a chance throughout to ask questions. So if anybody's got a question, feel free to ask away.
Sounds like we're doing okay on questions. We do have another testimonial, though, from one of our members.
Thank you.
Tracy Barrett. I just recently joined, probably about 3 months ago. And I was that word person. I was the one that was here trying so hard to be a firm of the future and not knowing the beauty of Practiceignition that Ingrid had been trying to get me to look at for a long time. So I scheduled a demo, and I had a one-on-one demo, and I signed up right then and there, and it took huge amount of pressure and time off of my schedule, especially because I am mostly a one-person firm. So being able to focus on the work and knowing that I can do the proposal in the field with the client in front of me while we're having coffee and engaging is huge. And then I can secure that in right then and there. And it's going extremely well. I'm getting good response from it. So, and I love it. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Maybe, Max, if you could maybe show us how simple it is to set up the proposals and the products and services on the back end. That could be really
Definitely. Yeah, I'll definitely get into those as well, show you how that whole process works. We can do that.
The dashboard is so cool.
That was actually what I was going to do next. Do you want me to do the dashboard or the setup first? Dashboard? Okay, I'll talk about the dashboard next. So this was the reporting piece that I was talking about in the beginning. And basically what we're trying to do here is give you as a business owner a complete picture, or not a complete picture, or a detailed picture of where your firm sits in terms of its revenue, what's going on with the cash coming into the firm. And we're actually kind of uniquely positioned to do that even more so than an application like your general ledger. Because if you're using Practiceignition with all your clients, all of your contracted revenue is sitting in here. So for firms to figure out how much money am I making in future months, a lot of the time that usually involves messing around in Excel, looking at last year's numbers and trying to make a guess off of that. What we can do for you is actually surface those numbers. So because we can see it from your contracts. So if I come in here as a business owner, I can see that I have committed $87,520 of revenue in November, and that's 14% over the budget that I set for myself. And that's that blue line running across the middle. So when I come in and set up PI, I choose my budget. Now what most firms will do if they're operating on that fixed fee basis is set that budget to what they want their MRR or monthly recurring revenue to be at. And so that anything, or also or it could be what their monthly expenses are at, so they can see what they expect to make that month. Either way. And then historically, we'll break it down for you. So the dark blue is going to be recurring revenue, and the light blue is going to be your project work. So you can see which revenue is sustainable, what revenue is going to repeat, what revenue is once off. We can show you your projected total for the year and how you compare to last year. So this firm is slated to make $1.2 million. And we can also see how much money we have sitting in unbilled project work. So that means any work that we're doing on completion, where we might be billing at the end of the project rather than upfront. Like Ingrid had said that her contracts are more prepaid, but some firms still do work on that project basis, where if you're doing advisory or maybe a system setup or something like that, you bill at the end. So you can see again at a glance how much outstanding money is there that we haven't billed for. We're also going to give you your MRR, so you don't have to mouse over everything, and that's your monthly recurring revenue, kind of a core metric for a fixed fee practice, as well as your average revenue per client. So that if you ever do any marketing spend, you know what you can expect to bring in per client. On the right-hand side over here, this empty graph would show you payments. This is just a demo account, so there's no actual payments running through it. But of that contracted revenue, how much you have credit card or ACH on file for. And then we'll show you an active client count. And then this bottom piece is actually my favorite part of the dashboard. What this will show you is based on your different service items, how much revenue they contribute to you, and what percentage of your revenue that makes up. So is bookkeeping making more money versus doing system setup versus doing training for folks? And again, you can all see this at a glance. And this all gets updated in real time. So if I went in and I signed another proposal and then came back to this dashboard, those numbers would all jump up for me. So you know immediately how much money your business is bringing in. And that's the dashboard. Was that good, Ingrid? Did I hit exactly what you were looking for there?
We're all drooling, and I'm not sure if it's
I actually can't see because it minimizes the camera when I'm screen sharing, but I'll take your word for it.
It's pretty messy over here.
Anyone? I don't know if this is a question or a feature request, actually. Just a little background. The dashboard is fairly new to Practiceignition. They just rolled this out, what, 6 months ago?
Yeah, about 6 months ago.
So my question is, we were actually just talking about this in our team meeting today. We were looking at our revenue for the current month and trying to figure out, is maybe something like had a date gap or something, there was a piece missing, but we couldn't find a way to drill down into the detail for a month. Is there a way to click on like September and see which clients make up those numbers and how much of each number?
Not yet, but it's coming. So one of the next things that we're rolling out is some enhancements to the dashboard. So that's going to involve detailed months. It's going to also show you the calculations that we use to come at these numbers, so that if you want to double check the numbers or so that you can understand how what we're showing you is calculated, you'll be able to see that. And then we've got a couple new widgets coming out for the dashboard. So one of those widgets that we're looking at is going to be time to acceptance. So that you can see, how long it takes for your average engagement to get accepted by your clients. And then also being able to break down your revenue per staff member. So you can see how much of that revenue, which staff members are generating it and how much.
I don't know if you can hear the oohs and ahs going on here or not. People are being kind of quiet, but yeah, the overall impression is impressed.
Thank you, yes.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, go ahead.
There was one other question that actually somebody asked before the presentation started. How soon is Practiceignition going to come out with a mobile app?
That is not going to be very soon. The problem with getting this to work on a mobile app is that, especially in the proposal build screen, there are so many buttons that it doesn't really display well on something phone-sized. And that if we dropped any of those buttons, you'd lose the functionality to build something fully. The client side is all mobile optimized, so their accept page will display really well on mobile. If you have anything kind of iPad sized, you'll be just accessing the application in a browser. That'll function really well. But we haven't figured out a way to attack mobile, and that we want to provide a good user experience, but we also want the full functionality to be there. And we haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Can you speak to the CRM capabilities of this software?
So CRM, there are a few CRM-like elements. We are definitely not a full-fledged CRM, and that is not our aim at this stage. We're really focused on the sales documents and the payment collection. One CRM thing that we're going to do for you is lay out all of your agreements, the quantities and dollar values associated with them in this pipeline, so that you can see kind of where do all my agreements sit. If you have multiple people that talk to clients in your firm, you're not checking like 3 or 4 different folks' email to see, where's an engagement, have they signed it, have they returned it to me? And then you can drill down into this with a bunch of filters. So if I want to find unbilled projects so I can make sure I bill them, if I want to find, clients that haven't opened the email so I can follow up with them, if I want to drill down based on services, I can do that all in here. Other than that, there's some light CRM elements where I can take notes against a particular proposal and exchange messages back and forth with my
How did you get to that screen?
I'm sorry? Can
you show us that screen you were just in again? How did you get into that? Oh, the filters. Ooh.
So I guess we'll do some training and demoing today too. So filters are actually super powerful, and if you're already using Practiceignition, definitely worth playing around with. So the biggest filter that folks use is this unbilled project work. So if you have any bill on completion, you can use this to find that and make sure you charge your client for it. The other most commonly used one is going to be that have they opened the email or not, so I can follow up. And when I use a filter, if I go into a particular bucket, it'll apply that filter only to that bucket. So if I only want to look at sent proposals, I can click into that and then apply a filter. I can also use filters to see like when proposals are ending, which staff member created them, whether proposals have edits. Basically any input that goes into a proposal you can filter by. And then you can also save your commonly used filters. So if I go into a filter view, so if let's say I go into, let's go to a real one. If I go into active and I go to unbilled projects and I apply that, I can then save that as a filter. So I have it for quick access. So I can say, call this one unbilled and save it. And then if I'm just not, sorry, let me get out of this filter. Let's go back to my regular proposals. Oh, come on, demo account. Don't fight with me right now. So if I go back in here, I can use any of my saved filters and access them again really quickly. So if you haven't checked those out and you're using Practiceignition, would definitely recommend playing around with them in your account.
Awesome. All of this is so cool. I don't know if you saw the chat window, Max. Tom says he's there if you need him.
Thank you, Tom. Glad you're here. So for those of you who have not met Tom, Tom is our head of customer success. So we actually break it up into 2 teams at Practiceignition to try to help give people better service. So I work with folks before they start, before they become customers of the application. And then Tom's team, all they do is work with paying clients to help them get the most out of the app. So we do really care about making sure that folks are trained on how to use things and they understand new features that are coming out. I guess I did a bad job of explaining filters though. So, that's one to work on for the future. But we do provide a lot of resources for folks that are using the application to get more out of it. And that's what Tom does. So continuing on here, and I don't want to run over time, so I just want to be conscious of that. A couple of the things you can do in here. One is manage all of your rollovers. And I don't know if any of the folks that currently do engagement letters do rollovers. But what I mean by that is renewing your engagement letters. So it's a really good practice for folks that are on fixed fees, especially, to renew their engagement letters every year. Basically, it just gives you a really natural point to raise your prices on your clients, to rescope things, to talk about upselling. And if you are doing renewals every year and you're not in Practiceignition, it can be a giant hassle because you got to create hundreds of new engagement letters. Basically, what this little widget lets you do is do that all at once. So it pulls up your engagement letters that are going to expire. You set new start and end dates, and you hit start rollover, and it creates them all for you. So then you just have to review them and send them out. So if you are doing that on a yearly basis, that's another area that we can help out in. I do want to talk a little bit about setup because I know Ingrid, you had asked about that. So the first thing you do when you're setting up your account is basically build out your pricing book or your service book. That's pretty straightforward. You just come in here and create a new service. You give it a name so you know what it's called and you can search for it. You give it a description. So this is telling your client what they're getting. So for most folks, the description, and this is a really good way to write a service, whether or not you're using Practiceignition. Even if you're just doing it in Word or doing it somewhere else, there's kind of 4 key things you want to have in a good service or a good item for one of your clients. One is deliverables. So what am I actually giving my client? What are they getting? Am I reconciling transactions? Am I doing a monthly advisory meeting? What's going on? The next one is going to be time frame. How often are you going to do it? Because that's going to affect whether or not they're going to buy it, and it's going to help them understand what you're doing. The third one is software, and that's any software that they're going to see. So all the time we see people selling accounting packages or bookkeeping packages where it says, accounting done in QuickBooks, right? Well, who pays for that QuickBooks subscription? Because that could affect whether or not your client's going to buy your package, right? If they don't have to pay for it, if you're giving them QuickBooks as part of it, that makes what you're selling them worth $20 to $30 more to them. So that's really important. And the last one, and this is the most important one that I see get missed the most, is limitations. And this is what I was talking about in the beginning when I said how important engagement letters are for fixed fee agreements. So what I mean by limitations is an example that would not be great would be to have a service that says reconcile all transactions. Can anybody tell me why that is a bad item in your service.
When somebody has an account that they didn't tell you they had until 2 years later, and all of a sudden it's like, what do you mean you have that credit card? Where did that come from?
That is an excellent example. That is one. Another one would be, their business might be growing. And what you thought when you priced them was going to be 100 transactions a month is 200 now. There are any number of ways that a service can change. And the reason we want to have limitations is you want to be able to go back to your client and say, that's awesome that your business is growing, or, that's too bad that you didn't tell me about that account that you have. But our agreement was for 100 transactions a month, and now you're asking me to do 200. I'd love to do it for you, but we're going to have to change your price. Whereas if if it says all, and you go back and say that to them, they'll tell you, well, it says all in our agreement, and you don't really have a place to change your pricing with them. So it is really important to have limitations, and this is Practiceignition or no Practiceignition, really important to have that in your agreements with your clients. And then the other pieces in here, you give it a bill type, and this basically lets our billing engine know how often to charge your client for it and how often to create invoices. You give it a price, and if you're using Xero or QBO, you can link it to a particular revenue account in those products so that the income is allocated correctly. So that's going to be the big thing for setting this up, is getting your services in there and building out that pricing book. Now, for some folks, this takes 10 minutes of copying and pasting, and for some folks, this is the first time they've thought about building an organized pricing book, and so it takes them a lot longer. But it is a really good exercise in structuring your business and standardizing the things that you perform and giving yourself a better idea of, okay, what should I be charging for the different functions that I perform? So that's one piece. And then the other one that you'd asked about, Ingrid, would be setting up your templates. And this is where all your engagement letters get stored. So this is takes a little more time than the services, but it's pretty straightforward. Basically, you copy and paste your engagement letter in here, just like the full text of it. And then you mark it up with these different placeholders. Now, you only have to do this once, and basically this just tells us, okay, where do we stick the client's name when you use this engagement letter? Where do we stick the list of services that you're doing? Where do we put the name of your business and the name of their business? And you have to tell the system that so that it can do it automatically for you going forward. So pretty straightforward setting that piece up. And then actually the last thing I want to show you guys, because I'm running out of time here, coming up on 7, and I want to leave time for Q&A and discussion, is something that we call the web connector. Now, this is down the road for some folks if you're just getting started on fixed fees, but it's pretty cool if you do end up deciding to put your fees on your website. I know that's a big jump for a lot of people. It's scary to put your fees out there. It gives you a little less wiggle room, lets your competitors know what you're charging, but there are some really big benefits of that, and one of those is filtering. So if you're to the point where your business is very well known, your marketing is doing really well, you might want to filter down the number of inquiries, because that can be a big burden on your team. You only want people that can pay your prices asking for a meeting, and that's where having pricing on your website can be really useful. Basically, we give you a feature if you decide to put pricing on your website that lets clients request services directly from your website. So if I enter my details in here, like I was a client, I click on bronze, that looks great. It'll then ask me, okay, what else do you want besides bronze? Do you want receipt bank and an income tax return? Sure. And then when I hit submit, it'll actually create me as a client in Practiceignition and create a draft proposal with all the items that I selected and notify the bookkeeper that somebody's come into their website. So if you guys do ever go down the road of putting your pricing up there, this is something that can make your website a little more interactive and then feed client requests directly into your contracting system.
So Matt, a really good question.
Yep.
Is anyone on your team single, as in not yet married?
I'm sorry, what was that? Did you say something about a man in a kilt?
Oh, I love you, Misha.
I'm sorry. I was reconciling and listening and reconciling a credit card, but I heard man, kilt, single. Was I dreaming?
There were no kilts, so that did not happen. I will explain Mariette's question about the suits to everybody, though. So for some conferences, not all of them, but when we do the big trade shows like QuickBooks Connect and Scaling New Heights and things like that, we have worn spacesuits to them as kind of like a marketing thing, I guess. It helps us stand out a little bit and starts conversations. And so the first couple of times I met Mariette and Ingrid, I was wearing an astronaut costume. And that's because our logo has a rocket in it. And so Mariette was asking why I am wearing a Practiceignition t-shirt instead of my spacesuit today. I don't wear the spacesuit to work every day. It's just for the conferences.
Yeah, Misha, I don't know about the kilt, but those spacesuits really did it for me. So, you know.
Yeah, I'd have to see that visual, but the kilt, boy, let me tell you. Oh,
does anybody have any non-fashion related that I can answer?
I had a question.
I have a question. So when you're setting up clients, there's an availability to tag your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was wondering if you could run through some benefits of using the tagging system in the client when you're working with your client database.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we're getting into kind of advanced Practiceignition, which I like. So there's two different places you can tag things. You can tag people. You can tag proposals and you can tag clients. And basically the purpose of tags is to track things that you might not be otherwise able to track in the system, or filter by things you might not otherwise be able to filter by. For most of our users, tagging against proposals is a little more common than tagging against clients, but you can definitely do both. And so basically the way tagging works is you've got this little box down here on the right that says add a tag, and I can just start typing to create a tag. So basically it lets me create my own system of notes or things that I can search by to track whatever I want to track. So maybe I want to track a referral from a particular person. So, maybe I want to track a referral from Ingrid, and then I can apply that to all the referrals Ingrid has given me. Or I want to start tagging by industry type, so that, I can see what the balance of my clients is in types of industries. And that's not a normal input for Practiceignition. So I might type, construction. And basically what I can do with those tags now that I have them is when I'm in my proposals view or my clients view, if I want to filter by different tagged clients, I can then use those tags either standalone or in conjunction with any other filters to do searches. So if I go back to that industry construction tag, and then I can filter by that, and it'll show me all of my construction industry proposals or clients that I have.
Max, I have a question. Does Practiceignition have a lead capture feature?
So the biggest lead capture thing would be that website hook that I just showed you. You could create clients. You can always add a new client into your client list, and they would come in as a lead until they have a signed proposal. But there isn't. I think what you're looking for is kind of a stripped down version of the web connector that I showed everybody, where like you could plug it into your website and they wouldn't have to select services or anything, but they could enter their details and then that would flow through to your account. Is that what you're looking for? Exactly. Something very similar to that idea. That is not something that we currently have. It is a feature request that we've had from a couple folks and the most likely way that we would address that is to do the web connector again, but free of pricing, because we do want to help people capture a little more detail beyond just the person's name. We want to know what they're interested in, and we want them to be able to see what sort of services that you offer, so that they can, ask for the right things and see that it's a good fit for them as well. So the most likely way that'll get addressed is a pricing-free version of this web connector, but it is not something that we currently have available. Any other questions, folks? I think I've got another 10 minutes or so that I'm slated to be presenting and doing Q&A. So more the merrier on questions. Does anybody have anything else?
I wanted to double clarify that when they go to that screen and they start picking out the different services, it does alter the price, yes? Yep, so it'll alter the price. So I've got $3.99 from the bronze package, and once I add Receipt Bank in there, and I also add, this accounting package, it'll show me a full quote of the total of all the items that I selected. I love you. Thank you very much. Don't tell my husband.
I can't even see who's talking, so you're completely safe.
Really cute. Any other questions?
I have another question. When I was at XeroCon, I was with your team hanging out, and they had compared Practiceignition to 17 Hats. I don't know if you know 17 Hats, and they were basic, and I really liked the way they explained it, because it was kind of like 17 Hats is for a solo tax practitioner or solo entrepreneur, and then you can evolve into Practiceignition. How do you feel about that, and how would you compare, or how would you kind of confirm that analogy?
So I think that that's a really fair comparison, and 17 Hats is an awesome application. Like I think that they've created a great product for exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about, kind of solo business owner. And the really cool thing about 17 Hats is it's got kind of all these different things all under one application, right? You can do some note taking, you can do some forms of recurring payment, you can do kind of a lightweight proposal, you can track tasks in a kind of a lightweight way. And so it's really great if you want an application that can do a lot of different things. But where Practiceignition and 17 Hats are going to differ is when your business is starting to grow and you need a little more depth of features and you need something that's going to be a little more robust, that's when 17 Hats might not line up as much. And we're never going to go down the route of doing absolutely everything like a 17 Hats. We're very focused on our one piece of the puzzle, which is, engagement letters and contracts, it's payment collection, it's revenue reporting, it's basically handling those client-facing tasks. And we're going to go a lot deeper. So the revenue dashboard is going to give you a huge amount of insight. You can structure all different sorts of automated billing. You can do ACH as well as credit card. You can have these filters and tracking elements. You also have the notion of something that I actually completely forgot to talk about, which is edits, which is super important if you're in a fixed fee firm. And that's like having living documents so that you can make changes to them and have your clients sign off on those changes. So what I can do in PI actually is make edits to a proposal, make any change that I want to it, have my client approve those changes, and that'll automatically flow through to the billing. So I think that whoever you had spoken with at XeroCon did a really good job of explaining that, and that you're talking about an application that goes very broad across a lot of things, but a little more shallowly, or an application that focuses on a couple of things but goes much deeper.
Got it. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I think it was Tom that said it, because he put it in the chat. It was me.
I think John had something else as well.
Well, I have a testimonial that I could wait until close to the end if you want, or
go ahead and tell us it.
So with the encouragement of Ingrid, I switched over to value-based pricing, and that in and of itself was a tremendous transition for my business. And then coupled with Practiceignition, my testimonial is I've been able to take my clientele, who I was averaging about $300 to $600 per, and my primary service is tax accounting, but we do bookkeeping and payroll, but we also do consulting and business entity formation, those kinds of things. So I've been able to, with the use of the value-based pricing, I've been able to sell more of my service. I've been able to upsell because I'm pricing ahead of time. So now instead of $300 to $600 per client, I'm up to $1,200 to $1,900 per client on average. And that's because of using the value-based pricing, and then being able to totally eradicate the accounts receivable process by getting paid up front. You don't, like, all of us bookkeepers have experience with hashing out a whole bunch of work as quickly as we can to help these people, and they're enthusiastic about it, but as soon as you put the bill on their desk, their enthusiasm, all of a sudden their enthusiasm goes away. So by switching over to value-based pricing, using Practiceignition, especially the merchant part of it, has been amazing. The ACH thing has been great. The verification of accounts is kind of a pain, but I'm hoping I would love to get that more streamlined. But other than that, it's been amazing, and I can't really thank you guys more, especially Ingrid too, for encouraging me to follow in her footsteps. Actually.
Well, thank you so much for that testimonial. That is very nice of you. And have you seen the instant verification? So we support instant verification for, I believe, the 40 largest banks in the U.S. with more coming out over the next couple months.
Excellent.
Have you noticed that, Justin?
Have I?
Yeah, the instant verification?
No, I don't know. I'm not usually on that end.
Yeah, so for the larger banks, what Max is talking about is when
They
the
can
client
do
goes to
login.
accept the proposal, rather than putting in the routing and account number, they just log in as if they're logging into their online banking, and it automatically connects it for them. It's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so that came out about 2 months ago. And so basically the way that works and the way that's going to continue to roll out and the verification process so that everybody understands also, basically for ACH transfers, there are way less recourses for fraudulent charges than there are for credit card. So as part of our ACH process, we have your clients verify that they are who they say they are and that it actually is their bank account by making a micro deposit the first time that you charge them. So we'll deposit anywhere between 1 and 10 cents in their bank account, and they have to reply to an email, and this is fully automated from our end, saying that, saying the amount, and then we'll start charging them. And that can delay the first payment that gets taken out if you're using ACH. What we've added since then is an add-on from a company called Plaid. And basically what they provide is that technology that Ingrid was talking about, where somebody can log into their online banking. And that will let them verify instantly. They don't have to go through that micro deposit step. And I think it's the 40 largest banks in the US, and because that number is constantly changing as they add more banks. This one doesn't have payments, but let me see if I can find one I can show you how that instant, or I'll just create a new one and show you what that instant verification looks like. Let's just add a bronze package here. All right. So what that instant verification will do is, see where you've got select account with internet banking, and it'll let them select their bank. So if they're using one of these banks where they can see a full list of banks, so let's say I'm using Chase, I can click into Chase, log in with my user ID and password, and that'll instantly verify me. It'll then, I'm not going to actually log into my Chase account on the demo, but that will then let them choose a bank account that they want to pay from, and they're verified instantly, and they don't have to do the micro deposits.
So is that when they go to sign up, is that fairly prominent, or do they have the choice to enter ACH information or to do that? Because I would imagine it would be preferable that they're directed strongly to the automatic, their instant confirmation versus entering account routing numbers. But that's
Yeah, so they are. So they could, the first button they see under bank account is select internet banking, and then smaller, just below that it says enter bank details manually. And if they're not able to find their bank when they go to select an account with internet banking, if it's not one of the banks we support yet, it'll then reroute them to enter their details manually.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I actually do have one thing that I want to highlight before questions, which I was just reminded of. And this is a guide for moving to fixed fees or value pricing from time cost. So Guy, who's our CEO and was an accountant prior to running Practiceignition, put this together. And this is actually free. It's on our website. You don't have to be a Practiceignition client to access it. It's just a resource we make available to everyone because we're big believers in fixed fees. And what this will actually do, and you can either download it as an Excel file or open it as a Google Sheet and copy it, is it actually lets you build a complete model for a fixed fee firm to help you plan your pricing and your costs. So it's a giant model, so I'm not going to run through all of it, but basically it's got all the rules and formulas built into it, so you just have to enter your numbers. So I'm entering in things like a charge out rate for different people, how productive they are, different packages. It'll help me build packages too. So it'll basically, hold my hand through the calculations for building a package. What are the different tasks? Who does it? How much is that person charged? And spit out a price for you. It'll help you build a P&L, and then also work through your operating expenses. So, how much money this year do you plan to spend on marketing? What are your fixed costs? What are you paying for insurance? What are you paying for office equipment? So that you can have all those things feed into your fixed fee package pricing. And some people will build out the entire model. If it takes a little while, but it actually gives you a really complete projection for your firm. Or they'll just use this plan costing piece to do plan costing. But yeah, this is all available on our website and totally free if anybody needs any extra resources trying to move to fixed fee billing.
Awesome.
Excellent, excellent.
So I see that the link is in the chat, and I'm just trying to figure out how we can get this link to everybody who's here.
I'll just email it to you, Ingrid, after I stop presenting.
Of people who were here today. Speaking of everyone who's here today, did anyone not get their card in our little basket for the door prize drawing? Because we want to make sure that Max has your information, that we've got your information. If you don't have a card, feel free to write it on the back of something else, because somebody might be willing to lend you their card. Yeah, right. And yeah, we want to make sure that we get all this information so that we know how to get Practiceignition information so that we can get in contact and those sorts of things. Max, do you want to tell us kind of how to do next steps if people are interested in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll also include this in my email to you with the link to that guide. But the best way to learn more about Practiceignition and get started, if you have questions, definitely contact me directly. My email is max, M-A-X, @practiceignition.com. I'm going to also send you all a calendar booking tool that we use. So if you want to book a time with me directly, I'll basically send you this and you can choose a time. It'll set up a Zoom call for us and it'll show up on both our calendars so we can meet. The other way to get started is to go to our website, practiceignition.com, and just hit the big orange Get Started free button, and that'll set you up with a trial. So you can go on a 2-week free trial. It'll set you up with a fully featured account. The only thing that doesn't show up in the account is payments, because unless we have a credit card down, we don't have a way to charge for our fees. We do our fees for payments really differently. We actually give you the gross amount when you charge somebody so that all your reconciliations line up, and then we charge you for our fees at the end of the month. So the only thing you can't do on the trial is payments. Other than that, though, you'll be able to use the full product, and that's the best way to get started.
Go ahead.
And the fees are very reasonable.
And do the.
Very reasonable.
I
found them to be very, I'm repeating myself. I found your fees to be really reasonable.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And yeah, so the way we structure that, all that, basically you pay an annual, either an annual or a monthly subscription for the product. For the folks that are already using Practiceignition, I was presenting to another group the other day and I realized that a lot of folks didn't know about the annual option. Basically, you can pay for the year up front and you get 20% off if you want to do that and if you know you're going to be using it over the course of the year. So if you're already a user and you want to lock in a cheaper price, that's a really good option. And then for payments, we just charge per transaction. So that's going to depend on whether or not you're talking ACH or credit card. And the way we do it is kind of what I just described, where we actually give you the full amount. So if you charge somebody $100 over ACH, you get $100 in your bank account, so your reconciliations line up nicely, and then we'll add that $1 bill to your next bill for the product. So you do get a little time advantage on that as well. Were there any other questions I didn't get a chance to run through?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we putting a moon price level in place soon?
So kind of for smaller than Mars, you mean? Not planning on doing that, but if you want to ask me about it and you're like, I have like 2 clients and I'm just getting started, we can probably work something out to help you get started on it.
Hey, Max, I have 1 client. Can we talk?
So I saw that Jan posted in the chat earlier that there's a special deal for ICB members for their first year. Is that right, Max?
Yep, and so that's kind of designed the same way as the what I was just talking about for kind of smaller folks. So we do a deal for ICB folks where they get half off for their first year, and that's capped at 25 clients. So again, kind of geared towards folks that are too small for that first plan, where they're a really far ways off 100 clients. So yeah, that gets capped at 25 clients, but that'll give you half off for your first year.
So that would be a good moon package for you, Dan.
Okay.
What were you just saying, Jason?
Yeah, that actually I was looking at it while you were doing the demo, and I'm like, I'm not even moon.
Stratosphere.
No, not there. I'm mostly tax. So. No, I'm mostly tax. Most of my clients are tax clients. So I can barely get them to walk on earth. I still have people who bring me stuff in shoeboxes.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, my meat scanner usually counts out because it's overheated. So I'm slowly working on them. Some of them are older, some of them are just, they don't have smartphones, they have flip phones, but at least they're coming to get their taxes done, so I'm not gonna complain.
That's true. And I will actually plug a different product other than our own. If that's a big problem, like getting them to give you stuff, there's an application I'm not sure if you've used called HubDoc.
Oh, honey, me and HubDoc, we are dating heavily.
Okay.
Ooh, we have a serious relationship going on right now.
Well, then that's all I need to say, I guess.
Yep. I'll eventually get there with them. It just takes some time to kind of get them to not think that, people are looking at their stuff if they go online.
Yep. The best argument against that that I have found is asking them if they use online banking, because if they're trusting their actual money to be online, then the data about it.
No, they don't at all. They don't email. They don't. Yeah, these folks are. And I'm in Massachusetts, and we're pretty progressive over here. And these folks are just not having any of it. I hear comments like, they're watching everything you do, right?
I would say if Big Brother wants to know how my business is doing, Big Brother needs to get a life.
I know. I'm like, well, usually I say, you know what? I'm a little embarrassed if they're looking because they'll see that stuff. I'm like, shoot, I turn red every time I think about it.
Well, we're going to be wrapping up our physical meeting in just about 10 minutes here, and I want to make sure we have time to do our door prize drawing. So does anybody have any other questions left from Matt?
I think we were serious about that. Is he married?
That question.
Okay, he did.